Handsome Hockey Podcast. 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 Handsome Hockey Podcast.
Handsome Hockey Podcast.
Hello, friends. You haven't heard from us for a while because we're not very good at this, but
also I was back in the cold flat place attending to other things, and also Christmas, and there hasn't been any hockey on to comment, so we just
and it turns out we just fucking hate hockey. It's a thing that we obsess over while flogging ourselves.
Yeah, right. The self-flagellation around hockey and not recording is real. But we are back in front of you now. And boy, do we have a lot to catch up on.
And for that, we are sorry. We want to start off. We're the Handsome Hockey Podcast. My name is Jake. Across from me is
Evan. But first, we have a transaction to report. Kind of a negative one, unfortunately, for women's hockey.
The Ice Garden, which is probably the number one place to go for news about women's hockey.
Yeah, it's one of the major places where people were paid to report on women's hockey. Even, not all that much, but still paid.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? If you can get paid to go catch a game in a mall on a Saturday afternoon, that's pretty rad.
I do kind of want to go to that mall. It seems amazing. But I digress.
I refuse to go to malls. Anyways, I was in a mall not too long ago. Damn. Anyways, the Ice Garden is one of the best websites for hockey in general, but they do focus on women's hockey, and their writing is superb. We would not have even 1/10 of the knowledge we have about women's hockey without their reporting, without their perspective, and without the access that they have cultivated over the years. And so we are putting kind of an APB out, not an APB. We're putting our collective fan base on black. No, I can't talk. It's been so long. I forgot how to do this. I forgot how to talk about hockey.
We've filed an AP wire that the Ice Garden has been unfortunately put on waivers by their owner, Vox Media, owner of SB Nation, and I'm sure cutting any salary that they can find these days, as it seems like the world heads towards a slow tanking recession. I mean, it feels like the world economy is making like the San Jose Sharks, and just going for the toilet slowly.
The world wishes that it had more cap space.
Yeah, I mean, the world wishes there was a prospect like Connor Bedard at the end of this, but it's probably just another
it's just Joe Biden again.
Yeah, right.
Damn.
Oh boy, that guy. Unfortunately, one of the most authoritative women's hockey resources that we have doesn't have a financial home. And the editor and interim manager, Mike Murphy, sent this out in a series of tweets, and it was really heart-wrenching to read, just like someone that really cares about what they do, finding out some really awful news and then having to kind of digest it and also report on it. And our heart goes out to them. We love them as a resource. They're really good, thoughtful writers. Mike Murphy is great on Twitter. And we have nothing but good things to say about them. We hope they find a home somehow, but
they do have a GoFundMe started. They were asking for $1,500. They're now over $11K.
Wow.
And they're hoping to use that money to kind of establish a hosting platform for their site, which would be amazing. And that amount of money, they said, when it was at 5,000, Mike tweeted that would be enough to sustain them for hosting for something like 6 months or something like that. So
really, I was going to say that's a lot to host a website, but I don't know
anything, but
I feel like I'm paying like $25 every 3 months to host our website. But, they're also like professionals.
Yes. Yeah.
And
their website is good.
yeah, their website gets traffic.
Yeah. Oh, that too. Yeah.
But the thing is that,
Ours gets a lot of spam bot traffic.
yeah, man, if spam bots were actual eyes, we would be millionaires right now. But yeah, the unfortunate reality is that they're going to be looking for a new home and maybe looking to monetize their stuff independently. I mean, if you ask for $1,500 and get 11,000, I think my next website I would pull up would be Patreon. But
yeah, they did put out kind of a tweet. I don't remember if this was through Mike Murphy as well, or if this was through just the Ice Gardens Twitter account, but asking like what you would pay for if there was a subscription fee.
okay.
The tweet noted that most of their content would still be free, but that there would be like this kind of tier of with a Patreon or some sort of subscriber base.
Makes sense. I mean, they probably need that anyways. You know,
Yeah. And that would go to actually paying their writers, which, if you can, like we keep talking about women's hockey players being able to make a living wage. Like if you're a writer, a reporter that isn't at some major conglomerate, like it's a struggle to make a living wage doing what you love. And so, kind of like go over to their website, look for their GoFundMe. If you have some loose change over in the couch cushions, or grandma sent you a birthday check, but she forgot that you're not 12 and she gave you $20. And you think, you know what, like $20, let's do some good with this.
If grandma's, if those stock certificates you got at 5 years old, from grandma have start to come due, yeah, maybe throw them $1 or $2. If you happen to be in like venture capital, I don't know, maybe take a look.
Yeah, if you're a venture capitalist, first off, invest in us, and then second off, invest in the Ice Garden. They actually put out significantly better content than we do.
We have more fun doing it.
They're here for stats and vibes, and we're all vibes.
Speaking of vibes, Nela Lopušanová, am I saying that correctly?
Sure.
Is a vibe and a half. This is a 14-year-old who is just lighting up the Women's World Juniors and looking like a star doing it. So playing for the Slovakia national team, the 5'7", 146-pounder, according to Elite Prospects, about the size of Johnny Gaudreau. She has 5 games played, 9 goals, 3 assists, for a total of 12 points at 14 years old. Yeah. Playing in an 18 and under tournament.
And she is playing in a boys league as her club team, and she has 15 goals and 31 points in 10 games.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
3.1 points a game. That's like, she's absurd. And we wanted to highlight this for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, she's 14. This is bonkers.
Yeah.
Like usually in women who develop earlier than boys and kind of like get bigger earlier, there's a huge size discrepancy between like a 12, 13, 14-year-old and a 16, 17-year-old. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't seem to matter here. She's a good size already, and she's 14, but like she's torching fools. She did a Michigan goal in the fucking IHF World Juniors. We're talking about her from Oregon, and she's in fucking Slovakia.
Yeah, that picture, her front page picture on her Elite Prospects is her scoring this Michigan goal against Sweden.
Perfect. And I think the other reason that, like, outside of her just blowing up and being, now one of the most promising women's hockey prospects in the world, another thing, and I'm pulling this, Haley Salvian wrote an article about her on The Athletic. they talked to Hillary Knight about her, and Hillary Knight says when her existence shows the huge amount of growth in the game that has happened. Nela got her start. Nela got her start at 4 years old, and she went to a hockey clinic that was in her hometown that was put on by the IAHF to try and stimulate the women's game.
Oh, holy cow.
In countries around the world that weren't the US and Canada.
Well, sounds like it got stimulated.
Yeah. And so and she's playing on a U14 team and a U18 team. And Hillary Knight was like, when I was coming up, there wasn't a U14 or a U18 team. Like, you were either on the team or you weren't. Like, there wasn't development. There wasn't like all of these things. And, you know, Hillary Knight was like, I was 21 years old before I had pressure on me, that like this self-placed pressure to perform for the national team. She's 14. Like, this, I think, just shows, and we've also, like, we've seen the rise of Finland in recent years internationally in women's hockey. Slovakia apparently coming on with this star. This just shows that there is development out there, and there is progress. You know, we have talked earnestly about the PHF salary cap going up to 1.5 million for next year, and we've got some other news that we'll get to in just a second. But like, Nela's existence is like one of the best barometers for the evolution and growth of the women's game. And outside of just seeing it like and being amazed that a 14-year-old is doing this against much older competition, just like the massive like what she means and what her growth and development means for women's hockey is way bigger than just her scoring a Michigan goal at a world championship.
Yeah, but like, to find that there's a Eastern European, like Trevor Zegras type talent waiting in the wings, I bet Boston Pride has already like thought about calling her.
The article in The Athletic ends basically with a college coach who asked to be to remain anonymous, saying that they are going to send people to Slovakia to recruit her.
That college coach, Mike Babcock.
No, he resigned.
I know. I'm just kidding.
But and Nela has also said that her goal is to play college hockey. So, like,
I think she should probably shoot higher at this point.
Well,
like college and then, you know, professional hockey.
Well, women's college hockey is a good feeder.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But, you know, we keep talking about, hey, the sky's the limit for these professional leagues as they start to, you know, invest and sign bigger contracts. And, well, we got a new one that she can shoot for in the next, you know, 10 years.
The new record for largest women's hockey professional contract has just been signed by Daryl Watts of the Toronto Six. $150K a year.
Heck yeah.
That's more than a living wage. Mm-hmm. That's real money right there. That's can afford to live on the West Coast kind of money.
I was going to say, in Toronto, that might not go very far, unfortunately.
It's going to go farther than what she was making earlier.
No, I know. That's for sure. If only she could spend that money where she went to college in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she was actually with like days away of going back to Madison for a master's program in real estate.
Oh, yeah. Does she still have eligibility years?
No, I think she's done.
Oh, okay.
But well, she's definitely done. She's playing professionally, and we all know the NCAA somehow still exists and somehow still fucks everybody's life up.
Right.
Has never done anything good. But so Daryl Watts decided, you know what, I'm going to give it one more shot, and then she heard about the contract, and like she's a Patty Katzmeyer Award winner. She's fucking good. Like, she's really good. But she decided to give it one more shot, got hooked up with the Toronto Six, and they had signed her through the end of this season and then next season. And then so her contract overall is about $200K for about a season and a half.
Yeah. And for context, the average salary this season was $34,000.
And the previous record for biggest contract was signed by Michaela Grant-Mentis with Buffalo at $80K. So this is almost doubling the record contract. So the PHF, they're either like fucking themselves into oblivion by spending this money, or as much as we have made fun of PHF/NWHL management in the past, they have like new people in place who have previous experience of this magnitude.
Also, they're full timers.
Yes,
whereas the previous
full-timers.
people were part timers.
And so they now have maybe a better understanding of what it takes to succeed and thrive as a sports league.
And also, I think they've realized, hey, we need to invest and spend money to make money instead of, just like kind of toiling away in middling territory. Like, actually, we're going to give this a try. If you flame out, whatever. But if you're going to do something big and something cultural, create a cultural shift. That's what this league is all about. You need to spend money to make money. And they've gone kind of full Shark Tank. Yeah.
And I mean, the PWHPA is supposedly gonna figure stuff out eventually.
PWHPA, I feel like, is like waiting in the wings, like Brutus about to stab someone in the back, but I don't know. We'll see. The PWHPA has now absorbed like 3 or 4 shots across the bow from the PHF without even releasing a bit of information. So one would think if they're going to be relevant and try and, up the stakes the way that the PHF has been upping the stakes on them, they'll have to show up with something important. But they still hold like all of the national players.
Not all of them, but
most,
for the most part. Yeah.
Almost all.
And you have to wonder, and this is just me fucking around. You kind of have to wonder if you're a PWHPA member. Like,
it's starting to look real grassy on that other side of the fence.
Real enticing, right? Yeah. Like, you're playing an actual season instead of these like essentially pop-up events.
And I mean, we live in Portland. Pop-ups can be delicious, but it's very sad when they go away.
So, we've been saying we're coming to a crossroads for a couple of years now, but I think mostly because the PWHPA hasn't fucking done anything yet. And so at what point do you say maybe we just combine forces? Because the PHF is clearly doing something right. Right? Like,
at what point does the gravity of the PHF just kind of fold in the PWHPA like it's a moon, crashing into a planet in a Lars von Trier movie? Like,
So we've got one more little bit of PHF inspiration, or news is probably the better way than the All-Star Weekend is coming up here in a little bit, and the captains were announced. And it was Katarina Mrazova for Team World, Kaylee Fratkin for Team Canada, and then Madison Packer ended up being the elected captain for Team USA.
So they're doing the 3-team thing?
Yeah,
Interesting. I mean,
Yeah, let them fight it out. Yeah, USA #1. The interesting story about Madison Packer being nominated or named captain is Packer and Jillian Dempsey had the exact same amount of votes. And Jillian Dempsey then kind of said, you know what, the floor is yours, and gave the captaincy to Madison Packer as a very
magnanimous,
generous kind of gesture to Madison Packer and her amazing pink hair.
Yeah, Jillian Dempsey actually got a little play in a catalog I received as part of the Christmas giving season. We don't have a sponsor yet, hint, hint, but a brand I've always liked called American Giant. They make clothing in America. Wow, fancy that. It's pretty kind of simple basics, but high quality stuff. And they did a really nice, like, 4-spread write-up on Jillian Dempsey with some great photos and like actually kind of insightful writing. And I had no idea. I was like flipping through, looking at, expensive fleeces, and it was like, oh, wow, awesome. Jillian Dempsey in this catalog. So props to them. And congrats to her for getting the press. It's super exciting to see more and more, culturally relevant things turning to women's hockey for inspiration and for stories. So yeah, love seeing that. So now that Daryl Watts got promised all of this money from the boy hockey sphere, comes a tale of how not to spend it.
It's very too legit to quit.
Yeah, kind of slithering, if you will.
Wait, what is Robin Lehner's least favorite house in Harry Potter?
Ooh, definitely not Gryffindor. I don't know.
It's gonna be Slytherin. That's his least favorite because it's a world of trouble for him.
Yeah. Robin Lehner declared bankruptcy. Like, that's not super surprising in and of itself. Unfortunate for the guy because he's someone we kind of root for. He's become one of the big mental health advocates in the NHL, along with being a very exciting goaltender and dominant when he's actually playing. But he's got a little bit more on his mind these days because he is trying to account for $50 million in debt, which he racked up to dozens of creditors, and he has filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Allegedly, a significant amount of this money was lost investing in a snake farm, a very rare snake operation that accounts for payments for a rare collection of snakes he purchased for $1.2 million.
Yeah, and Evan talked about this earlier just a bit. Like, Robin Lehner is one of the great advocates for mental health in professional sports that we've seen in the last couple of years. We're gonna make fun of him though.
And he absolutely deserves it.
Yeah. So he bought a bunch of snakes from a guy named Ben Rennick in early 2017. In June 2017, Ben Rennick was murdered by his wife.
What?
And subsequently sentenced to 16 years in jail for murdering her husband.
Over snakes and money, one would assume.
Yeah, and so maybe it was snakes gone wild. I don't know.
Snakes on a plane.
So after Rennick was killed, Lehner just stopped making payments on the snakes because the dude who he bought the snakes from was dead. And so
turns out America doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah, it turns out we love lawsuits. And so Lehner got sued for stopping payments. Lehner countersued because of saying that he took on millions of dollars in costs taking care of Rennick's animals because at some point after Ben's death, the snakes began breeding amongst one another in an unsupervised and uncontrolled manner that caused the collection of snakes to lose value. but Lehner's attorneys did not specify by how much.
Yeah, and lose value because you're spending so much to take care of these rapidly reproducing snakes. I mean, who knew that snakes fuck like bunnies? That's news to me. But Lehner is living in the snake dungeon from Indiana Jones.
It had to be snakes.
On this motherfucking plane. This story is so fucking crazy.
It's one of the fucking most bonkers things I've ever heard of in my entire sports fandom. Like, going bankrupt because you bought snakes?
Right. Like, MC Hammer is impressed by this.
He at least got a tiger out of it.
Right.
Like, this is fucking bananas. Lehner has been basically, he has so many creditors because he has basically been borrowing money from everybody, including like the same company, I believe, that gave Evander Kane money. So
yeah, I mean, he's obviously wrapped up in some of the predatory shit. Not talking about the snakes. Predatory shit that, you know, hockey players are faced with. Like, this company is basically payday loan sharks for athletes.
Sure Sports, over 10 months crossing between 2018 and 19, arranged nearly $14 million in loans to Evander Kane. And this is now, they also owe defaulted loans with Adrian Peterson and Kamar Lawrence of MLS. So like,
yikes. So like, this is a fucking terrible company.
Yeah, they need to be burned to the ground.
But there's a great story about this, actually comes from Robin Lehner's teammate, Mark Stone, who said that during an end of season party after the Knights lost to Montreal a couple years back, they're at Mark Stone's place and Robin Lehner is in the back digging up his yard looking for snakes. And he said that a week later, he had 5 snakes in his pool because of Robin Lehner. And so this video of Mark Stone comes out, and Robin Lehner tweets in response to it, "Man, it was for Reeves, but I didn't find any. I wasn't digging, just did a little searching. He don't like snakes." I love it so much. I mean, I really hope that Robin can find a suitable way out of this and not, you know, have to deal with financial trouble for the rest of his career. I mean, also, this will probably keep him playing until he's 50. He's going to be on the Mike Vick, like, paying off my debts to society train.
He's going to be, he'll make Jaromir Jagr look like a young man.
Yeah, I mean, any more than Jaromir Jagr makes Jaromir Jagr look like a young man.
He makes me look like an old man.
We'll get to that later. Yeah, this is just like chef's kiss of just weird ass NHL stories coming from the strangest places. Like, and it's not even like the snake farm is in fucking Vegas where you would expect it to be. It's in like central Missouri.
Or like Wisconsin or something
yeah,
like that. Yeah,
I think the people suing him are from Wisconsin. Because, I mean, I don't know. Like, apparently there's not much to do on the prairie. Nothing good happens in Missouri.
No.
Sorry.
In conclusion on this just fucking nutso story, Evan, I'm going to ask you to make a promise to me, and I'm going to hold you to it. When we start making millions off this podcast,
I will buy 0 snakes.
And I
promise you this.
And I need you to make sure that I buy 0 snakes as well.
Yes.
Yeah, especially exotic ones.
Right.
What's the point of having a snake if it's not an exotic one? Like,
yeah.
Who keeps a fucking garter snake in there?
Goth girls.
Oh, yeah.
Capybaras, on the other hand, those are completely okay.
You can't have mongooses. How do you say? You can't have a mongoose in the United States, so you might as well go somewhere else.
The thing that's there to protect you from the snakes.
Yeah, that's why there's so many fucking snakes in this country. It's like, why are there so many motherfucking snakes in this motherfucking country? The answer, Robin Lehner.
Speaking of snakes, Ivan
Oh.
Provorov has decided to go and bite gay pride in the butt. He's making like that woman on White Lotus who thinks the gays are all coming to kill him.
So the backstory is Philadelphia, the Flyers had their Pride Night, and Ivan Provorov declined to participate in the warm-up because he has disagreements with the LGBTQ plus lifestyle.
And it was the warm-ups were in rainbow adorned jerseys.
Yes. Apparently he hates the mixture of sunshine and rain. I don't know.
I think he's really into beige, like the fake Werner Herzog memes. Like, I hate the rainbows. They make me too happy when I want to be sad.
That's actually Morrissey too. Torts kind of because Torts is a notorious like right-wing curmudgeon too.
Well,
Like,
he's kind of weirdly in the middle because he's
Yeah.
super into
that's fair.
he's super into what is it, Pipple rights and like taking care of dogs and
Yeah.
things like that. So
Yeah, but loving animals doesn't make you a left-winger.
no, I know. I just think he's got a little bit more
Like Johnny Gaudreau might love animals.
yeah, sure. Mike Fick loved animals.
Yeah. Loved bashing their heads in.
But yeah, he didn't really come out and throw Provorov under the bus. I mean, he didn't sit him for the game. That's one thing.
Right.
Like, if anybody usually says, hey, I want to skip warm-ups because, well, these jerseys are a little too fancy for me, someone would just be like, yeah, fuck you, sit.
Yeah.
We're tanking anyways. Like,
Right.
It's not like he had much to play for besides, well, his now substantially diminished trade value.
Yeah, he Torts, who notoriously came out against or famously came out against Colin Kaepernick.
Who then, he kind of walked his comments back, though, later
Yeah.
in 2020 in the bubble.
And then he also talks shit about like Trevor Zegras for being too flashy. Like,
Right.
he's clearly like a curmudgeonly old dude.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know. I don't want to accuse him of being full on right wing, but yeah, he's somewhere on the old angry white man in hockey spectrum.
Yeah, and so he said that Ivan was that it was against his religion to support LGBTQ plus folks. It came out later that he was Russian Orthodox, which is
where exactly we would have guessed.
they hate the gays. It turns out Russia as a country is just like, no, we don't like you.
Which is funny considering how strange and queer looking Russian Orthodox priests are. But that's just an aesthetics
Yeah.
issue.
And so there was obviously the immediate pro LGBTQ plus reaction, and then the immediate right wing reaction, which was to buy out the NHL shop of his jerseys.
Which, to their credit, was like 5 jerseys.
Yeah, and like let's also point out that like the right wing will buy fucking anything.
Yeah.
If it's used as like I'm gonna stick it to the left wing liberal
Right.
turds.
Bunch of people in Texas who don't even know what hockey is were like, oh, I'm buying an Ivan Provorov jersey
Yeah.
because Alex Jones told me to.
And also, he's Russian. They're the bad guys.
Well, not if you talk to the modern American right wing. I mean,
Yeah.
they fully support, Putin and are anti, subsidies to Ukraine and blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah, well, you know what? Fuck you. We're giving them Abrams tanks.
That's not working out very well, is it?
Probably.
When you are right wing and you're opposing the American military industrial complex, what are you even doing?
Yeah. You do realize that like your whole existence is tied to them, right?
Yeah, right.
So,
I mean, they're playing the long game where they just want us to fight Russia, maybe. I don't know.
maybe. Oh god, that would be
I mean,
fucking
we're
terrible.
getting deeper into a proxy war every fucking day, so whatever.
So back to hockey, mostly because I just don't want to think about that. The best part of this story is that Ivan Provorov's dog blocked me on Instagram. I didn't.
His dog, noted homophobe.
Yeah. So I love golden retrievers. Ivan's got a golden retriever named Drake, who is super adorable, plays hockey with his dad out on the ice, and is now a noted homophobe because I sent a message
Bites gay people.
barks in queer. I sent a message. It's Ivan Provorov's his partners runs the account for them.
His partner, definitely not a dude.
Yeah, very clearly not a dude. Or are they?
Yeah. Totally not a beard. Totally not a beard.
Runs the account. And I sent actually a very kind message. I didn't swear. I didn't condemn.
So you actually wrote the dog?
Yeah, on Instagram. I was telling them why I was unfollowing. And it was actually, I just said you can be a Christian and love queer people. It happens every day.
Yeah, even the Pope does that.
And I said, I hope that Ivan uses this as a learning experience to become a better, more open-minded individual. And blocked.
Which is kind of funny because the same week, like, Pope Francis came out and said that the Catholic Church needs to be more welcoming of LGBTQ plus people. And it's like, all right, yeah, you're really diverging here, young defenseman who went from intriguing prospect and trade bait to like also ran who nobody probably wants to deal with anymore. So
He's toxic.
He definitely is a little toxic at this point because, I mean, there are only a handful of trade bait type defensemen this year, and he's probably one of them. Philly is going nowhere. They had no reason to even fucking play him. Like, that's the other crazy thing about this to me is like they could just have lied. They could have just said, yeah, he missed warm-ups because he was, taking a really long and painful shit. And
I would have been like, been there.
Yeah, right. No one would have been like any the wiser. But he kind of also made John Tortorella go up and air his dirty laundry for him. Like,
yeah,
Torts had to break it to the media that this is why this happened. Torts didn't lie. I mean, and to his credit, Torts is a pretty truthful guy, even when it hurts or hurts him. But yeah, this whole ridiculous thing. And like, Philly, pretty cosmopolitan city in the scheme of things. They support their gay community. And he's kind of become a little persona non grata there.
Yeah, who wants to tell him that he plays hockey in the city of brotherly love?
Ooh, yeah. Ouch. All the more reason for him to try and find his way out of town.
Back to the KHL.
So, who else has found their way out of their respective town?
I don't know if he found his way so much as he was shown the way.
Yeah. But, we can now officially say, Bruce, there it isn't. Bruce Boudreau has been officially canned after a very long and arduous, I don't know what you would call this. It wasn't really a process. It was just waiting. I mean, basically the entire time between the last time we recorded and now, people have been pounding on the Canucks door being like, when are you going to get rid of Bruce and hire this other coach that we know exactly who you're going to hire? You're going to hire Rick Tocchet.
It was basically announced.
Right.
And the whole world, including Bruce Boudreau, knew.
Mm-hmm. And to his credit, Bruce handled things with amazing aplomb. Like, he gave really smart, heartfelt answers. Like, you could tell he was being a good sport at every step of the way. I mean, he's coached one of the worst teams in hockey this year. And the fans are like revolting against the ownership for canning him.
Yeah.
In one of the worst teams. Like, they could not have handled this any worse. And, there were some mitigating factors. Like, Rick Tocchet was a pundit for TNT and reportedly had to give them like a month's notice, which would be hilarious if Boudreaux then goes and takes his job on TNT, like that would be amazing. Boudreaux is awesome on air.
Imagine the bleeps.
Oh, I know. I mean, like really, Bruce Boudreaux should be a hockey commentator for like HBO so we can hear all the fucks. But like, yeah, he was such a good sport about it. Got some standing ovations, had tears in his eyes at the end of a couple of the last games. Just the way he's handled this end of job situation has probably guaranteed him another job. And
for sure.
And
like what he did with that team in the back half of last year.
Sure.
Because they weren't any better last year.
I mean, they were in the way that, like, if they had have hired him 2 weeks before they did, they might have made the playoffs. This year, this team has been, to nicely say, moribund.
Liquid hot doo-doo fire.
Yeah. Way to bring in that English major.
That's a big word.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of dashes in that. It's all one word.
But the front office is not doing him any favors.
They're not going to do Rick Tocchet any favors either.
No, there's not that much talent in the building. I mean, it's really hard to bring what has been a tire fire for many years into any sort of competitive nature because they keep throwing $3 to $5 million at any like third or fourth liner that they can find. And then they have a bunch of just awful bad contracts like Oliver Ekman-Larsson and
it's
and fucking JT Miller.
You know it's bad when the media and fans are calling Jim Rutherford, a well-established GM, Jim 2.0 in reference to Jim Benning, his predecessor, who they also tried running out of town.
And I mean, what's funny is Jim Rutherford has this. He's what, president of hockey ops. He's not technically GM, but he's got this like patsy GM, Patrick Allvin, who had the balls to take credit for the firing in the publicity stunt that they had. Like,
whoops.
Everyone knows this was not your fucking call.
Yeah.
There were two other people ahead of you, and like now you're getting saddled with taking the fall for this firing, Patrick Allvin. Oh, what a patsy. Oh, it's so rich and hilarious. I mean, like, this really is like an episode of Succession, the HBO show. We're going to keep coming back to balls and HBO this episode, apparently. But like, the knives are out and everyone's talking. There's tons of leaks.
Are we still talking about balls?
Yes. Okay. Like, really, the only winner in this entire fucking Vancouver Canucks story, Rachel Dory.
Yeah. She looks real vindicated right now.
Doesn't she? Like, every ship that sinks has someone that gets cast off very early. And it was just her. That was it. And like, everything past that has been just this like monumental organizational meltdown by the Canucks. You know, the fucking Francesco Aquilini thing came out like, oh, his kids hate him and he's maybe abusive. Bruce has basically been on the firing lines since training camp. You know, they've been like, in so many words, just saying, yeah, we're gonna fire you the first fucking second we can. They allowed him and encouraged him to shop around for other contracts like it was an open relationship. It just made no fucking sense. And this had to be dictated by ownership, who is clearly just absolutely incompetent.
You want to know why Canada can't win a Stanley Cup? This shit is why. Look at who your GMs are and your owners. I mean, Edmonton's owner is wants to like fuck ballerinas.
This Pierre Dorion erasure will not stand.
He's not an owner.
I know. He's a GM without an owner.
Yeah.
Actually, that's
well, it's about to be Ryan Reynolds. So
if they can only hope it's Ryan Reynolds. Big Guns is no longer in Montreal. He took his biceps elsewhere. Yeah, that's a really good observation. It's like, which team in Canada
Has competent leadership.
Yeah.
Is Pierre Dorian the best GM in Canada? It's like Kyle Dubas, Ken Holland, Jim Rutherford.
You can tell how someone thinks about him, whether they say Kyle Dubas or Dubas.
Brad Tree Living's pretty good up in Calgary.
Yeah.
I'd say he's probably
But that
number one.
team is really underperformed. I
Yeah,
mean,
but at the
even
same time, like it's a lot of gelling new parts in coming from teams that played a much more wide open style, trying to get used to Daryl Sutter's style. So
yeah, and Daryl Sutter is still curmudgeonly old, angry Daryl Sutter that like throws his new players under the bus.
and quotes the Bible whenever he can, which plays well in Calgary. So
I can't think. I mean, Winnipeg, like what they had Adam Lowry's dad as coach for a while, like they were a fucking mites team.
yeah, but they're
doing great.
Kevin Shoveldayoff,
Right, who was part of the Blackhawks scandal.
yeah, and then I can't remember
So
the name.
the award can't go to him, but they have Connor Hellebuck, who, he's probably one of the best goalies out there. So
Yeah.
that's
It's
why
probably between him and Ullmark for Vezina at this point, right?
it's got to be.
Yeah.
It's definitely got to be.
Yeah, so Canada sucks. So does Vancouver. Not the city. The city's great. Do your job better. Like, treat people with grace and kindness. How about that?
Yeah, it turns out that if you're less of a dick, usually you win faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just
That's
kinda
why
how it works.
That's why you got to have Steve Yzerman, who just doesn't show emotions. And
Steve Yzerman is good at playing karma.
speaking of karma, the Canadian police have determined that there is a high likelihood of a crime in the Hockey Canada case.
Which is about as animated as you can expect any Canadian to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, and here on Handsome Hockey Podcast, we're like, duh. Like, really? You're really? You're like, there's a likelihood of a crime?
Yeah. This is a novel in that everything else is being kept private, but including this whole report, but the third-party investigation into the 2018 sexual assault of a woman by members of the Hockey Canada team, it has been determined that likely a crime took place by law enforcement, and they are taking adjudication steps. They're being held confidential for now, partially to not jeopardize the investigation, partially, I'm sure, to save face in a uniquely Canadian way. But the board of directors is being briefed on the report's findings, and it's a measure of vindication for the London police to come out and say, yeah, they have reasonable grounds to think that 5 members of Hockey Canada's 2018 junior team committed a crime. Those 5 players have kind of been outed in informal circles. Several of them are in the NHL today. They've all had kind of interesting contractual dealings where some have not been able to re-sign with their teams. Some have been traded for pennies on the dollar a little bit inexplicably. And it seems like we're getting closer to a reckoning here. One can only hope that it is meaningful for the victim and meaningful for the hockey culture that needs to change. But we're going to be doing more waiting in the dark, it seems, for entirely too long.
We're really getting to the point where it seems absurd that we don't have like a police report that says these players did this.
I mean, the report seems to exist somewhere.
Right. Just not in the public view. Maybe they don't have FOIA laws up in Canada. And it's not that I'm sitting here saying that I need to know who the players are.
No, but it's 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You want
it's
justice to run its course.
Because chances are there's at least one NHLer in there.
Oh, there are several.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much searching on sites that end in Schmedit to basically know who the five are at this point. There's been enough amateur sleuthing. There's enough hockey nerddom out there that has put their heads together and they're like, okay, it's these dudes.
Yeah.
Two of them are definitely in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
One of them was recently, but is no longer.
Yeah. There was some article. It was like the trade block article on The Athletic. And somebody was like, oh, they should trade him for one of those players. And like the next three comments were like, no,
not him. No. And they're like, why? What could be wrong with that? The sad reality is that it took top sponsors, Tim Hortons, Canadian Tire, Scotiabank, to pull their sponsorships for Hockey Canada to really realize the gravity of the situation. And so, we would love that this came out of their thinking to do right. But no, they're a Dudley do wrong type of organization. It took hitting their pocketbooks to get them to do anything. So hopefully some changes are on the way. Hopefully some charges are on the way. And, yeah.
Hopefully justice fucking happens.
Right. Not the French band, though. Actual, criminal justice.
There's a French band called Justice Fucking Happens.
No, just justice. So to follow up with teams that are adjacent to sexual violence, the Chicago hockey team got thumped by Seattle. Everybody cheers.
Yeah.
In a historic fashion. 8-5, but Seattle was leading 6-1 after the first period after scoring 6 goals on their first 7 shots. Let's just think about that again. 6 goals, 7 shots in a fucking NHL game. Holy shit.
That's NHL level goaltending is what that is.
That's tanking is what it is.
Yeah.
And right now, Chicago is sitting in second position to get Connor Bedard at the end of the season. There's some talk that they might not be allowed to pick Connor Bedard because of Gary Bettman's ire over the handling of the Kyle Beach scandal.
He's going to Arizona or Anaheim. I would put money on that right now.
Sure.
The tank in Chicago is, I mean, we knew it was coming. Like,
sure. When you signed Jack Johnson, it was on.
You mean Stanley Cup champion Jack Johnson?
Yeah, whatever. When you trade away your best scoring player, and it
feels like it was a totally unnecessary teardown.
Well, I mean, the writing was on the wall when the Seth Jones trade happened. It was like, oh, this is awful. You got to tear it down to studs. And yeah, it sucks, but now they can't get rid of Taves and Kane, it seems like, because, well, Kane's kind of injured and not playing very well, and Taves is too old.
Well, they also both have full no movement clauses.
Right.
So they have to want to be traded instead of, like, if you're Patrick Kane, wouldn't you just want to just stay at home in Chicago for the rest of the season and then hit the free agent market instead of moving somewhere for like 3 weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one thing if you're getting moved somewhere to be a part of a team that chases the cup, ostensibly. But yeah, I think, as they say on Puck Soup, like, it's where your stuff is. That your life is in Chicago. Like, why don't you just wait until the offseason to move? And
you're still making $10.5 million. Why not be comfortable?
Yeah, and reality is hadn't looked comfortable the whole year. And that's the real reality of this tank is, well, they wanted to suck enough so that these guys wanted to leave. And
it turns out they're part of the sucking.
Yeah, kind of. Turns out when you separate Patrick Kane from his buddy Alex DeBrincat, neither one of them is terribly good.
Yeah. This couldn't happen to a better team. The Chicago hockey team can gargle taint like wombat taint for generations, for all I care.
But if they got Bedard, you would be kind of sad.
I'd be super upset if Chicago, like, what's next? Pittsburgh gets another guy? Like, fuck this. Like,
Exactly. You would be so mad. But there, I mean, if certain other hockey podcasts are to be believed, they're not going to get him. Something's going to happen. They're not going to get him.
yeah. Oh, I think they want to put him down in the Southwest somewhere.
There have been allegations of impropriety around balls before.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
We're not talking about Patrick Kane.
yeah. Or Blake Wheeler.
Yeah, it's they've talked about, there being weighted balls or multiple balls around the draft lottery ball dropping. But I'm very intrigued by these comments because they're in pole position right now. I think only who has passed them in suckitude? Columbus has passed them in suckitude, which is kind of unexpected, but not entirely out of the pale.
They've had a lot of injuries. Their entire defense has been injured at some point.
Sure. And it takes a while for Johnny Gaudreau to get, situated and really be his effective self.
You were talking about weighted balls. Somebody who lost some weight in their balls, Blake Wheeler.
Yeah. Wow.
Takes a blast from...
Pun intended.
Very much intended, thank you. From his teammate, Josh Morrissey. And it hit him right in the beanbag. And
he played the game. He finished the fucking game. Like, what? He had some psycho quote too, like, there's a difference between playing hurt and playing injured, and I didn't realize I was injured till after the game.
Yeah.
And it's like,
he probably sounds like that because he's almost as old as me.
Sure, I read that in like Charlton Heston voice because A, that's kind of Blake Wheeler, and B, that's kind of the quote. Like, what the fuck?
Like Clint Eastwood smoking a Marlboro while he said,
"Where we're going, we don't need balls."
I do always think it's unnecessary when you see the like hockey players are tougher than NBA players memes because it's like, duh. Duh. But then like something like this happens and you're like, okay, yeah, like,
yeah, right. Or, several players, I forget who it was most recently, but have played like super fucking injured and jeopardized their careers to play in the playoffs, like, okay, we're just gonna, take a screwdriver and a couple like quarter 20 bolts and put your foot back together. Yeah. And we're just gonna bolt through the skate to your foot.
You can't take it off. We'll just take the blade off.
Yeah. I mean, we'll undo the bolt when the game's over. But like in doing that kind of shit, and it's like, no, you do have a life after this. Like your earning potential is one thing and like your legacy is another thing. Understand that. But like, yeah, they're not getting paid that much more, and injury doesn't change it that much. So it's not the money. Like, it's just they're hard asses that want to keep playing this sport at the highest level, and they're competitive. And I don't know.
Well, and I also think there's a culture of that in the NHL, which is probably kind of caustic and bad.
Oh, absolutely. Like these players need to take care of their long-term earning potential. It's hard to own car dealerships even when your back doesn't work. Like, I'm sure John Elway is finding this out the hard way.
Yeah. In other injury news, Max Pacioretty played 5 games this year.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, just
I feel bad for him. He's a Michigan guy, but he's been a relatively class act for most of his professional career.
He was a class act like a month ago. I don't know if you saw this. There was a kid eating ice cream, and the cameraman zoomed in on him, and I think he was, I don't know, on the stadium or something, and he dropped his ice cream cone. And guess who went to the fucking concourse from the box and brought this kid an ice cream cone? But Max Pacioretty. Absolutely adorable.
Hey, Patches is the best.
Also, that was a giant ice cream cone. Like, I don't know. That might have been worth like 2 beers worth of ice cream.
Do you think Pacioretty like went up there and was like, I'm good for it?
Yeah, it's like, this is this $30 ice cream cone.
Yeah. But so he's out for the year with another Achilles tear.
Retore the same one.
Honestly, and it was a non-contact injury. Like, it looks bad.
And I think tear is a relative term here. If I'm not mistaken, I'd be interested to dive in more. I haven't delved in more to the medical news side of it, but like, it sounds sort of to me like it was a partial tear and they were trying to wait it out in rehab, and like now he'll probably have a surgical repair. I don't know if he had surgery in his first go around or not.
No idea. But hopefully this isn't the end of Max Pacioretty's hockey career. He might be a free agent when the season starts next season, and then somebody gives him a contract, because he's not going to be ready for the start of next season, right? So
that's interesting.
So we'll see what happens. If it is the end of his career, he's had a good one.
It could be like comeback player of the year potential if he just plays a half a season.
It's going to be Jacob Vrana.
Yeah. Ooh.
Speaking of, Jaromir Jagr should not be able to move at his age.
Did you just see the highlight that I saw earlier?
No.
Of him just scrambling fools?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
So yeah, Jaromir Jagr came back to play a game.
Stop me if you've heard this.
And had 2 assists, like a couple weeks shy of age 51, for the team he owns in Czechia. But apparently has set his Hall of Fame clock back by doing so, because this is technically professional hockey. And so now they have to make him wait like another 5 years. Maybe a little bit of a miscalculation on that point, but
I don't think he gives a shit.
Right.
I think it's very obvious at this point that Jaromir Jagr intends to be a posthumous inductee into the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's just gonna play until they scrape him off the ice.
Yeah.
With the Zamboni and just bury him in the ice.
Right. Face up, like you can just see his face during all the games for his team.
Yeah, and he's smiling.
Yeah.
It won't be like a sarcophagus type thing with like the arms crossed and like an ankh in one hand. It'll be like
action hero.
He's
Jaromir
down
Jagr.
there with his pecs and his hair just like.
There's a great picture, I think, of him starting a relay race or marathon or something with a starting gun. And someone was like, how have we not had action hero Jaromir Jagr yet? Movie producers, get on this shit. He's gonna make them being the Hockey Hall of Fame, like make new rules for him. I think that's what he's intent on. Like he's like, no, I'm gonna get in, like, I don't know, the second I like don't order a pair of custom skates for a period of 2 years or something. Like he's going to get some strange rule written specifically just for him, or they're just going to be like, yeah, you're still fucking playing in Europe. We don't care.
Yeah.
We're just going to put you in the Hockey Hall of Fame. You're that special. I think he wants, like, I don't know, that sort of recognition. No one knows. They're just loves hockey.
They're just going to build a wing for Jagr.
Yeah. The Jagr wing. It's just all his jerseys from
all 17 NHL teams he played for.
I'm legitimately amazed. Like anytime I hear about there's dudes that track this, like how many of them are there? They all wear a Jagr jersey of each team that he played for to a game and there's like fucking 14 of them or something.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed to like relearn that, oh yeah, Yager played for that team. Philadelphia, Dallas,
Florida. You find out he was like he's like in a team photo for the Anaheim Ducks, but he wasn't ever actually on the team. He just showed up that day.
Just around. That would be great. If
He's like leaning out. Like,
Ducks marketing people, get on this.
you talked about all of the jerseys that Jaromir Jagr won. Rasmus Dahlin feels kind of evil in the throwback reverse retro Buffalo Sabres Buffalo head jerseys. Considering those jerseys were once worn by Satan. Oh, sorry, I missed the emphasis. Shatan. Sorry, Miroslav Shatan. Considering those were once worn by Miroslav Shatan, they should be seen as a little bit evil. Honestly, Buffalo has the best jerseys in the league right now. Like as like a full like some teams have a really good home jersey, but a dog shit away with jersey. Theirs are all good. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Every one of them.
Like every one of their, design jersey things is like on point.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit of a shout out to Rob, who loves this jersey, and we love this jersey. The what do they call it? The goat head jersey, red and black as opposed to their usual suave blues. It's incredible, and I mean, this shows the power of looking good. Sometimes you look good, sometimes you play good.
When your jerseys are on point, Tage Thompson scores a lot of points, including 33 goals this year.
Tage is going full on rage. He is unbelievable, and
somebody
really,
was like, Tage, you can't score 40 goals. And he was like, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
Yeah. Do you think somewhere like Ryan O'Reilly does the like reclined meme, like looking at a picture of Tage Thompson being like, I knew you could do it, bud.
You know who can't do it? Jamie Benn.
Oh, there is one specific thing that he really cannot do.
And he's engaged now, married. Now? He's married now.
So he is going to not do
that one thing.
That one thing.
To only one lady.
From now, henceforth, and forevermore.
Yeah. Unless he buys a bunch of snakes and has a farm and then his wife kills him.
Yeah. I mean, it would definitely not be about the snakes and not the lack of any sort of oral pleasuring.
That woman, that poor woman. But at the same time, like, he's said that publicly. So, like, you have to know what you're going into. Maybe she's one of the gals who doesn't like it.
No, it's yeah. I mean, there are those. Yeah. Maybe it's written in the prenup. Like,
thou shalt not cunnilingus. I don't know how to make a transition to this, but
I got one.
Okay, go for it.
In a move that many bro hockey player are referring to as a pussy move, Cale Makar did a hilarious thing and called off a penalty somehow. I mean, I'm still kind of fucking amazed that the refs allowed him to do this. They were just like, no, like many a ref is like, calls a penalty, figures out almost immediately, okay, bad call, but you got to stick with it. Like, that's the
stick with your guns, man.
Right, that's the play, right? Except this time it wasn't, and Cale Makar argued that he ate shit and was not tripped. And clearly, like, if you zoom in, Zapruder film style, yeah, the guy's stick is like clearly inches away from his skate, but not touching his skate. When he just like toe picks and trips on his face, but like in a way that looks like he was tripped, very obviously. Like,
well, you don't expect Cale Makar to just fall. He's the best skater outside of Bobby McJesus, Connor McDavid.
Yeah, and I mean, he was, doing a pretty tough thing, kind of accelerating off an edge and, in a way that would make someone like Cale Makar fall. He called off a penalty successfully, lobbied to an official to have them not call a penalty that would have put it as a team at an advantage. And so obviously that got some heat in the media afterwards. And so he issued an apology. So he like, what's more Canadian than issuing an apology for doing the sportsmanshipy thing?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Does this not put him as the front runner for the Lady Bing Trophy at the end of the year?
They're going to give Roman Yossi the Norris this year, and as a consolation prize, Cal will get the Lady Bing.
Probably be undeserved and only because of injury. But yeah, Lady Bing, the trophy for the sportsmanship award. If you correct an official, like that's gotta go. And it's not in your interest. It's absolutely opposite of your interests. Like that's gotta be just a automatic win for the sportsmanship award. I'm sorry. It's hilarious. Also hilarious, some strange news around transit. The Leafs were fined for flying too soon. There are very strict rules about when you can travel, when you can't travel.
Due to the collective bargaining agreement between the NHL and the NHLPA.
Exactly. Due to some like logistical issues, they flew early for some reason.
I think it was weather related.
Yeah, it was around this giant storm, that hit North America on Christmas. Like, everyone has their own story about this giant ass storm from somewhere in the country. No matter where you were, from Florida to fucking Seattle, like everyone has a story about that damn storm. So NHL though, not very forgiving, and fined the Leafs and the coaches specifically a shit ton of money for traveling.
And this is why we know that Chicago's not getting that first pick, because Gary Bettman doesn't forget a fucking thing. Or forgive.
Not forgiving is Louis Domingue, who came out in hatred and criticism of Tesla. I'm not going to skip on any opportunity to shit on Tesla and Elon Musk.
Yeah. Nothing like the apartheid car company to like they had emeralds in their eyes. Yeah, apparently. Where was the mine? You told us where the mine was, you fucking degenerate.
Apparently Louis doesn't like his notoriously poorly made Tesla continuously falling apart and having to be in the shop. I mean, I do give Elon and Tesla credit where credit is due in terms of like making electric vehicles cool again and
accessible, sort of.
Yeah, sort of.
Making like,
a lot of times by like
stations and whatnot accessible.
Well, and price wise, but a lot of those like, very cheap Teslas were just made very cheaply, turns out. Funny how that happens. And so yeah, a whole lot of people are mad about the quality of their Teslas because, well, a lot of them are like failing and bursting into flames and shit. And like, we haven't even gotten to the battery replacement, like shenanigans. So it's kind of hilarious. And I kind of want to like sell him on trains.
Can we get some fucking high-speed rail in this country? God damn.
I mean, it was high-speed on rails, which was the dude in Portland that was skating on the streets when it was iced over.
Yeah.
Like, if we could get some of that, maybe we just need, like, hockey trains and, like, a sheet of ice. Don't think about tracks,
You just hold onto a cable and off you go.
Oh, wait, I think ski resorts figured this out, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And in hilarious, heartwarming family news, the Joseph brothers, not the Jonas brothers. So the brothers Joseph, Mathieu, and Pierre Olivier, this had been sort of like slated on the schedule and circled. They were playing a game against each other. One plays for
Pittsburgh and the other plays for
Ottawa. And so their parents were obviously at the game. It's the first time these brothers had played. They're each wearing one of the jerseys, and what do their sons do? They take penalties against each other.
One of which was not even a penalty.
No, the other one very much
one was very
a penalty.
Clearly high sticking. The other was like not even remotely high sticking. But I think the official just like saw an opportunity to create magic and was like, you know what? We're going to do this.
Yeah, right. Give whoever that was a fucking Oscar because, to give the brothers Joseph matching penalties on the play was pure poetry.
Yeah, like that was Spielbergian.
And, like parents watching sports, they're always like somewhere between enjoyment and just full on fear. And like, whenever you talk to your parent or something after a game, they're like, oh, you scored blah, blah, blah. You took a couple penalties, huh? Mm-hmm. And then like, to have the parents like realize like, oh, they both took penalties against each other must have just been this hilarious moment.
That reunion out in the hallway outside of the locker rooms was a little funny.
That must have been good. I mean, the Kachucks are used to it by now.
Yeah, their sibling rivalry is nuts. But do you think so? One parent was wearing Pierre Olivier's and one parent was wearing Matthews. Do you think they just wore the jersey of their favorite child?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they were like, no, I like Matthew better.
Yeah, you think there was like a draft selection process? Like,
yeah, and like one of them got the first pick, and the other one was like, "Damn it, I'm gonna get Pierre Olivier."
Yeah, and also it would have been hilarious if like one had then like put the other one in a headlock, but
just give him a noogie.
Yeah, or if they did like the fake like Irish fisticuffs.
All right, folks, that is it for us. We are sorry that we haven't been around much.
In Canadian, that is sorry.
Sorry. But, we hope to be around a little bit more frequently here in the coming weeks and months. So thank you for coming back to us. And, hopefully you've got us saved on your... I'm not even saying words. Like, I'm just like...
Keep going. Just keep going.
Eventually I'll get to it.
This isn't your first time doing this.
Yeah. Eventually I get to some sort of...
You do the fake, like, outro. You're like, you're working towards something.
Yeah, eventually. Thank you for listening to us we've been doing this for 2 years now. I guess this is around the time that we started. I think it was January 13th, 2020 was when we put our first... would have been? Yeah. No, 2021. Episode 8 or 9 or something. Yeah. So we've been doing this for 2 years now. We're hopefully going to avoid our terrible twos. And please go back and listen to those old episodes and tell us like, hey, you used to do these things and we liked, or, you sound a whole lot more professional now. Who knows? I would love some feedback either way. Jake sounds like he took up smoking. I didn't, actually. It turns out it was for journalistic reasons. Yeah, I was having my my Hunter S. Thompson moment, as one does. Yeah. So yes, there are bats. If you're looking to find us elsewhere on the internet, you're like, you know what? Listening to these guys isn't enough. I gotta see what their shitty opinions are electronically as well. You can find us all over the fucking interwebs at handsomehockey.com. On Instagram, our handle there is Handsome Hockey Podcast. At Handsome Hockey on Twitter, handsomehockeypod@gmail.com if you want to write us in long form. And then finally, the Handsome Hockey Facebook page. Some of these are more active than others. Probably Twitter is the place to catch us if you really want to hit us up. But one of these times, I will learn how to use the fucking Facebook Business Suite. But it's probably not this week. You mean the Meta Business Suite? Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Meta, for people who don't know, means fuckery. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to us. This has been episode 74 of the Handsome Hockey Podcast. Stay handsome, everybody. Restez beau tout le monde.